next thing for us was like big, like in communication?
Communication was big. It was always a tricky one. Because, I mean, before we started dating, I haven't been in a relationship in, 8 years? So, communication for me, and I'm already not very social, so communication for me happened on my terms, and I had to get used to getting that phone call and, kind of having to be accessible to someone. It was very new to me. It was a very new thing, but it's something that I found, especially conversations. Like,
Yes.
I mean, she
It
can
took
talk.
so long.
She can talk.
Phone calls. Like, do you have anything to talk about?
I'll be a great listener.
It's like, this is one-sided. I'm tired
I get
of
like
hearing
a
myself.
world championship prize for listening, but when it comes to talking, no bueno. I'm not the best conversationalist, especially over the phone. Much more in person, not over the phone. So, but it's something I can't just sit here and be like, oh man, like, I'm just not gonna talk on the phone. I'm just not gonna talk on the phone. Like, I can't just shut it all down. We have to have conversations about this. We gotta talk about it. We have to be very transparent about it. So I had to tell her, like, hey, sometimes, like, I don't always know what to say. I'm listening, but I don't always know what to say. I mean, I do the best I can. Like, if you ask me questions and, if you make a statement, I may not always respond. But if you ask me a question, I'll respond to that. But also on top of all of that, like, hey, I'm a guy. Like, my attention span for listening is like wee little bit sometimes.
Yeah,
So, but what that means is, I also, it's a compromise in a lot of situations. Like, there's other areas where, like, okay, like, we don't talk on the phone as much, but when I am, like, I'm recognizing that when I am in a mood to where I can talk and have this conversation, I'll make sure I do call her on a very consistent basis. And then, I mean, for us personally, like, we just decided, when we did talk on the phone, we would talk on the phone frequently, but just have shorter conversations. So instead of, we came out the gate like 2 hours, 4 hours. Like, the phone's on the side of my face, and my face is all hot. It's getting sweaty. I feel like the phone's about to, like, burn the side of my face.
Oh my god.
My battery's at like 3%.
Right.
She's like, just plug it in and keep talking. I was like, yo, I thought the phone dying was my escape. But like, that's not how it works. Like, she gonna hit you up on Facebook Messenger. Like,
Oh my god, I was gonna text you.
nah, I'm just
Let's keep this going, guys.
But I mean, we talk more frequently on the phone, but the conversations are shorter. And that's the result of, like, a couple months of, like, trying something and being very open to trying something. You can't just, like, sit in what you're used to doing and be like, oh, okay, like, she need to fix this. Like, no, like, you need to be willing to try new things and really try it. Not like, oh, like, I don't really want to do this, so I'm gonna try it and act like it don't work. Like, no, like, really try it and really give it a shot. Be really willing to make it work. Yeah.
Well, for me, I meant to say this earlier, but something important that I find was not just praying, like, together, but I prayed so much when I was single, like, before he even came. So I realized a lot of the things that I prayed for back when I was single and then I prayed for him to be have come to pass. So one of them is that I prayed that we would be very, I don't know why I prayed this, but I prayed that we'd be busy. And then the moments that we did see each other would be great because they would be like those moments of connection.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see, like, because we don't see each other, we work, we serve at our church very heavily.
We live on opposite ends of the planet.
We do, yeah, up here. So we're like an hour away from each other in driving wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so those moments when I would always, like, communicate with him, like, texting is great, but I needed to talk to me on the phone because that was the next best thing than being in person. And he has tried. He's way better at it now than he was in the past. But just compromising, because if he didn't want to talk, like he's like, okay, that doesn't encourage me, but at the same time, that didn't mean he didn't want to talk to me. He's just not the greatest person to think of conversation on the phone. So
Yes.
like I had to think of things to talk about.
You gotta tell her these things.
Right.
'Cause that's very true.
Right.
But she knows that because I had to tell her.
Yeah. And I was like, but he was great in person. I was like, I don't understand. Like we have great conversations in person, but on the phone you're like, I think I'm gonna go now because you're not talking and I don't feel like thinking of anything to talk about. Which happens. Like that was sometimes our days, but
And granted, at the same time, there were times we were talking on the phone. I was doing other things. I mean, I'll just be honest. But that's something that I had to make that adjustment too. Like when you really get serious about your relationship, you're like, you know what? I'll make sure that when I'm talking on the phone with my girlfriend, like that's all I'm doing. I'm not having other conversations with other people. I'm not cooking a pot of rice. I'm not I'm not on the laptop looking at the latest Jordans, not watching YouTube videos. Like, just engage in that conversation, be present in that conversation.